You probably hardly recognize me all cleaned up, but here I am in my house. Thought I'd do kind of a quick run through of what I took on the trail on the CDT through the desert this year, and just talk about kind of what worked and what didn't work. So this is sort of everything laid out. I'll go through it quickly. I might do some additional videos on some individual things like the tent and the backpack and give some details, but I'll just try to go quickly through it. Just a quick note before I get started. My base weight, which will be every single thing that you see here, includes everything that I carried with me except the stuff that's on my body, you know, like my clothes, my hat, my trekking poles that I'm holding, and it doesn't include water and food. That's kind of typical if you don't include those things because they vary so much. So my base weight was just a little bit under 11 pounds, like 10.9 pounds, something like that. So you can kind of see that'll be everything that's included here. So yeah, let's get started. So we just start with the Durston backpack. So happy with this. Couldn't be more happy. I had to carry so much water. There were a couple of times where I was carrying 35 pounds, which I certainly couldn't do comfortably with any of my other packs, and I felt nothing. No pain, no concerns. It was fantastic. So this was a huge success, and so happy that I had this thing. I can't imagine using anything else for more than just a day hike. Then I have my food bag. You've seen this before probably, but this is the Atotech bear bag. Very happy with this. It was great. Has so much space in it. It's so light, 9 ounces. Just fantastic. I can fit, it doesn't matter how much. There was at least one time I had to carry 8 days worth of food. Easily could get all the food in it and everything else that smells, like toothpaste and bug spray and stuff like that, so that I could hang it all up at night with room to spare. So it's just a magnificent thing. I can't imagine using anything else other than that. Of course, my spoon. I love my spoon. This year I drilled some holes in it, really just to be stupid. I don't know. It saved me like, 1/1,000,000th of an ounce. It worked great though. I had my this Gossamer Gear, just super thin pad, right? I won't pull it all the way out, but it's basically the length of my body. This was wonderful. I have never used an inflatable pad before. I think I mentioned that sleeping pad underneath me. Always just used a foam pad. But because I was carrying this and I was in the desert, and it's, inflatable and super light, which means a little bit fragile, I needed to have something thin to put underneath it so that anything that might poke through my tent floor wouldn't deflate my pad, ruin my pad. So this worked wonderfully. Never had one issue. My inflatable pad worked fantastic. I mean, it's amazing for an 8 or 9 ounces. I mean, this thing is just, it was great. A lot better than sleeping on a foam pad. My tent, new tent, never used before. The Gossamer Gear, the one. I'll tell you what, this is not the new cool tent. They still sell them brand new, but it is not the one people are buying, and they should be. This tent is smaller than the Durston mids, but still plenty big enough to get in. Had no issues with condensation, no problems. I could set it up anywhere in tiny little spots that you can't fit the Durston in. It just was great. I had no problems with the wind, which I thought I might. I mean, I had no complaints about this. I will be using this thing for a while. Now, the one negative, I think I've mentioned this to you. I bought this used. It basically was new, but the guy had sliced the carry bag here, and it had a piece of tape over it. Well, that tape came off really quickly, and so there is a slice in here. I'm gonna I'll just get a little patch of some kind and sew it, so it'll be permanent. The tent also had a similar slice in it that was patched up with the same kind of tape, but I had no issues with that. Tape never came off. Everything was perfect the whole time. Got rained and hailed on. Not a one drop of anything came in. It was just beautiful. For 17 ounces, this is my tent. I love it. Okay, my tent stakes. So, I did have a couple issues here. I bought these new MSR carbon stakes. I will buy more of these and use these in the future. They weigh nothing. They're so light. I had no issues. I had no issues in the sand. I thought they might not work that well because they're really, short. They were just fantastic, and so I will definitely buy more of those. These Coughlin large stakes, I know not a lot of people use them. They're not quite as ultralight as some other stakes are, but I always carry a couple of them to put where the, it's hard to explain if you aren't familiar with trekking pole tents, but where the pole is and where the most tension is that's actually holding up the majority of the tent, I always put one of these on either side, and it just is bomb-proof. And they were bomb-proof, just like always, and the tent was great, and everything worked perfectly. As you might be able to see, for the first time in my life, after 6-7 years of doing this, I almost broke one of my Coughlin tent stakes, banging it in with a rock. There were a lot of rocks out there, and there were a couple of nights where I was super tired, and I was not being careful. I should have just pulled the stake back out, repositioned it a little, knocked it in a little more carefully. It would have been fine. But I did end up messing that up. So I will either throw this away, or more likely, knowing me, what I will do is I will bust it off right there. I will grind it down smooth. I will put a hole in it down here, and I will move this down, and I will just have a slightly shorter stake, and it'll work wonderfully. So anyway, very happy with that. The guy that sold me this tent sent me these tent stakes with it. They are very light. I have no idea if they're the ones that came with the Gossamer Gear tent or not. I kind of assume they are, but I don't know. I will tell you, they're not that great. They're pretty good, but they are fragile. I broke this one my second day in, maybe third day in. Just hammering it in, and it just bent right up. And it was not me being horrible on it like I was with this Coughlin stake. So I will most likely not use these. I've got more of them downstairs that came with the tent. I'm just going to throw them in a bin down there with some other old tent stakes I have. I'll probably get some more of these beauties and just use that from now on. So let's see. Boy, that's almost, that's the majority of stuff. Now, I did have this bag that just had a lot of little individual, kind of bathroom supplies, electronics. So I won't go through all this stuff, but, this is just, I've got a pair of glasses in there. I've got my backup battery and some charging cables, headlamp, earplugs, which are a necessity on the trail. You never know when you're going to need those. So yeah, nothing. This is stuff I've always used, so nothing new there. This bag was great. It's a Dyneema waterproof bag. Then just some incidentals. This is something new that I've not used before. Toothpaste tablets. And they're just really light, and they're supposed to just be convenient. I don't know. I bought a bunch of them, and I've got a bunch downstairs. So in trips in the future, I'll continue to use them to get rid of them. But honestly, I didn't love them. I just didn't love them. You're just kind of brushing your teeth with this chalky stuff, and it doesn't really... I don't know. I guess it did an okay job, but I feel like it didn't get my teeth quite as clean as I'd like them, or whatever. Anyway, I will most likely just use up what I have, and then probably just use toothpaste in the future. And then I'm not going to go through everything in here. This is just like toothbrush and some Vaseline, and these are my maps, and I've got my compass is in there, which I never used the maps or compass once. I never ever do, but I always carry them just in case of an emergency. My phone died or something. Got my chemical tablets for water if I need them, and all this stuff. So yeah, not a lot to talk about there. Just this was a bunch of extra stuff that I didn't use a bit of it ever. This bag sat in the bottom of my backpack, and I did not pull it out once, and I didn't use anything inside of it. And it probably weighs a pound. I don't know. It's got a bunch of individual little things in there, some Advil and a little sewing kit and an extra flosser. And I mean, it's all stuff that I feel like I need and want. So I'll probably continue to carry that stuff. And actually, just out of curiosity, I will tell you exactly how much it weighs. Oh, maybe I won't. Oh, there we go. It weighs... 6.3 ounces. So that is not even a half pound. So yeah, it's stuff that's important, you know. So yeah, my little bathroom bag, right? My little trowel to dig a cat hole worked great. These things, I've had this forever, and it works wonderfully. Some hand sanitizer for obvious reasons. Bug spray, which I always keep in a Ziploc, because I learned a long time ago, you get DEET on a CNOC bag and it starts to get little pinholes in it. So I keep those far apart from each other. This thing, this is probably 7 ounces of bug spray, and I'd not use it a single time. I thought about not bringing it. Then I thought about chucking it about halfway through. I still carried it. I should have just not brought it. But you just never know, man. When you're out there and if you hit the wrong place and you're getting killed by bugs, you want to make sure you have that. So I don't know. I wish I wouldn't have carried it. My water filter, I love this thing. It worked great. Nothing to say much about it. The Platypus Quick Draw. The CNOC water bag, beautiful, great. I also did have a couple of other, like the Sawyer, old Sawyer water bags, just to carry some extra water if I need it. I don't have those here, but yeah, those worked fine as well. All I did was just use them kind of for emergency. The Garmin, it's great to have. Didn't really need it, you know, but if I would have needed to push the SOS button and get saved, I mean, that's a no-brainer to have. And got my little thermometer here, which I was glad to have along the way, kind of just to gauge what was going on, to know at night, you know, do I need to have my water filter, you know, my sleeping bag to keep it warm if it's getting too cold. And it did freeze a couple of nights out there. And my my little emergency whistle that my nephew Isaac had printed for me, 3D printed for me, so glad to have that. Didn't need it while I was out there, luckily. And the sun umbrella, yeah, I've used this quite a bit off and on, the Gossamer Gear sun umbrella. It's, you know, couldn't have lived without this, man. I would have been dying if I didn't have it. So that was magnificent. Bug net, which I also didn't really use, maybe one time, and I didn't really need it, but it's light. Glad I had it. I'll talk about these trekking poles just before I get the clothes and everything out. These Durston trekking poles, when I hiked over Christmas break this year, I complained about these. Busted the tip off of one. I was not happy about that, and it busted off easy. So, on this trip, I was super careful. And, I mean super careful. Like, there were lots of times, like when I was on the lava rock, where I just put these away and didn't even use them. And I kind of wish I could have used them. If I would have had my aluminum ones, I would have used them. And they wouldn't have, you know, I wouldn't have worried about them busting so easily. But I was just really careful, and I had no issues with them. So that's great. Got through a full hike and didn't bust anything up. Even the straps up here did fine. So you know, I'm maybe not quite as down on these as I was earlier. They certainly are super light, and they were great. So my shorts. I think these hiking shorts are getting retired. They have been, I have repaired them so many times. This pocket here on the inside, I've folded it over and re-sewn it so many times. It's got another big hole in it. I think, you know, the back is like permanently stained from just sitting on things. You know, you can see it's so dark in the middle, and it's just, I've stitched up the crotch and everything 1,000 times. There's a million kinds of thread on that. I don't know. I think they've seen their better days. I've washed these several times already. This is what they look like. So I think they're probably done with. I think I might have worn these on my very first hike on the Appalachian Trail, and I'm still using them. So I've loved them. And last of all, my clothes and my sleeping bag. So, boy, did this sleeping bag, this quilt that I made, work great. I loved it. It was exactly what I hoped for. It did exactly what I hoped. Now, did it work for this hike or did it not work for this hike? Well, that's kind of hard to answer. again, it did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was it kept me totally warm when it was not cold out, right? It is so super light. It barely even covers all my body, which is what I wanted. And on the nights when it was colder, when it got down to, 29 or 30 or 31, it kept me warm enough. It did not keep me super comfortable, but I expected that. So the failure in the system was my projection that I would only have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of those nights on the trail this year. And I ended up with quite a few nights where it was that cold. And so I was uncomfortable a few more days than I would have liked. But I'm still glad I would have, if I had to do it over again, I would carry this instead of my other bag that is, another 8 ounces heavier. So yeah, super excited about this, and not a single tear, not a single leak in it, like nothing happened. It was perfect. So I'm so happy with that. And then, yeah, just, I don't need to go through all my clothes, but just my, this ultralight, very kind of relatively low quality rain jacket worked wonderfully for me. Didn't expect I was going to need it that much. Didn't, and it served its purpose. Certainly my long kind of wool polyester blend pullover is what I've always used on the trail, and I love that thing. Use it in place of a puffy, and then I just had a couple of extra things, extra pair of socks, a camp towel, some things like that. So that's it. That's what was in there. So as far as, what worked, what didn't work, well, if you think back to what I've just said, there's really very little that didn't work. Don't love these stakes, and there's not much else. Maybe wouldn't carry that bug spray.